The notification chimed on my phone at 7:43 p.m., right as I was debugging a client's firewall in my basement office. Pierce Eldrow, cybersecurity consultant. That's what my business cards say anyway. Reality is, I fix rich people's smart homes when they lock themselves out and investigate suspicious network activity for paranoid executives. The text wasn't from a client. It was from Rhett Vossin. Coming by tonight. Sleep somewhere else. I stared at the screen, reading it 3 times before the words actually registered. My wife's boss, her alpha boss, as she called him with that breathless admiration that made my skin crawl, was ordering me out of my own house. Not asking. Ordering. The basement felt smaller suddenly, the humming servers and blinking router lights closing in around me. 20 years of marriage, 15 years in this house, and some corporate hotshot thinks he can text me like I'm his employee too. I heard Ayla's heels clicking across the hardwood upstairs, that quick pace she used when she was excited about something. The excitement wasn't for me, hadn't been for months. Pierce? Her voice drifted down the stairs, artificially sweet. Can you come up here for a minute? I saved my work and climbed the stairs, phone still in my hand. Ayla stood in our kitchen, leaning against the granite counter she'd insisted we install last year. At 42, she still turned heads. Sleek auburn hair, designer clothes that hugged her gym-toned figure, the kind of polished confidence that came from climbing corporate ladders. She was smiling, but it was her boardroom smile. Professional, calculated. So, Rhett needs to swing by tonight, she said, examining her manicured nails. Some urgent project stuff. It would be better if you weren't here. I held up my phone. Yeah, he already told me, quite directly. Her smile flickered for just a second. He's under a lot of pressure. The board's breathing down his neck about the quarterly numbers. You know how it is? Actually, I don't. Most bosses don't text their employees' husbands with eviction notices. Don't be dramatic, Pierce. It's just for tonight. Maybe grab a hotel room, put it on the card. The casual dismissal in her voice hit harder than if she'd screamed at me. This was normal to her. Expected. Her husband was an inconvenience to be managed, shuffled aside when the real players needed the stage. Leadership culture, I said flatly. Exactly. She brightened, missing the sarcasm entirely. Rhett's been teaching me so much about executive presence, how to command respect in high-stakes situations. I wondered what other lessons he'd been giving her, but kept that observation to myself. Instead, I walked to my home office, the small room off the kitchen where I handled the business side of my consulting work. Where are you going? Ayla called. Just need to check something. I opened my laptop and pulled up the smart home dashboard. Our house was wired to the teeth. Security cameras, smart locks, automated lighting, climate control. I'd installed it all myself, back when Ayla and I still planned things together. Back when our house actually meant something. The access logs told a story Ayla probably thought I was too trusting to read. Rhett Vossin had been granted temporary entry codes 17 times in the past 2 months. Always evening hours. Always when I was supposedly out of town on client calls. Except I hadn't been out of town for half those dates. I scrolled through the calendar integration, offsite reviews, and strategic planning sessions that coincided perfectly with Rhett's access windows. The metadata was all there. Entry times, duration, even the smart thermostat log showing when the master bedroom temperature had been adjusted. My wife wasn't just having an affair, she was scheduling it like a business meeting. I opened a new folder and began copying files. Screenshots of the access logs, the calendar invites, the text message thread. Everything time-stamped, everything documented. 25 years in IT had taught me that information was power, but only if you preserved it properly. Pierce? Ayla's voice had an edge now. What are you doing in there? Just saving some work files, I called back. That wasn't entirely a lie. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Rhett. ETA 9:30. Need privacy for sensitive discussions. Appreciate your cooperation. Sensitive discussions. Right. I forwarded the message to my secure folder, then opened my contacts list. Seren Drevin's number was right there under D. I'd gotten it 6 months ago when I'd helped the company recover from a ransomware attack. She was the board chair, the kind of old money executive who'd built her reputation on cutting through corporate nonsense with surgical precision. Ayla appeared in the doorway. Seriously, what's taking so long? Rhett will be here soon. I know. I saw his text about the sensitive discussions. She had the grace to look uncomfortable for about 2 seconds. It's not what you think. What do I think? You think this is personal. It's not. It's business, strategic partnership development. At 9:30 at night, in our bedroom. The words hung in the air between us. Ayla's carefully constructed facade cracked just enough to show the calculation underneath. "The bedroom has the best Wi-Fi signal," she said finally. I almost laughed. Almost. "For video conferences, I assume?" "Exactly." "With the camera positioned for optimal lighting?" "Pierce, you're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I turned my laptop screen toward her. "Because according to our smart home logs, these strategic partnerships have been happening twice a week for 2 months. Always when I'm supposedly traveling. Always lasting exactly 2 hours. Always with the bedroom thermostat set to 72 degrees. Ayla's face went pale beneath her foundation. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been maintaining our home security system. You know, the one you asked me to install to keep us safe from intruders." "Rhett isn't an intruder. He's my boss." "Right. Your boss who texts your husband like he's giving orders to the help." She straightened, shifting into her executive persona. "This is exactly why we need space tonight. You're being emotional instead of strategic. Rhett's trying to help my career, and you're sabotaging it with jealousy." "Jealousy." I repeated the word like I was tasting something sour. "That's what we're calling this?" "What would you call it?" I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I'd met in college, the one who'd laughed at my terrible jokes and stayed up all night helping me debug code, the woman who'd promised to build a life with me, not around me. "I'd call it Tuesday," I said. Before she could respond, I picked up my phone and dialed Seren Drevin's number. Seren answered on the second ring. "Pierce, this is unexpected." "Sorry to bother you this late, Ms. Drevin. I have a situation I think you should be aware of." Ayla was staring at me now, her executive composure cracking around the edges. She mouthed, "What are you doing?" But I ignored her. "What kind of situation?" Serene's voice was crisp, professional. Even at 9 p.m., she sounded like she was ready to chair a board meeting. "I need to verify whether something complies with company policy and fiduciary duty. It involves Rhett Vossin." The pause on the other end stretched just long enough to be significant. "Go on." "He's been using company resources to conduct after-hours meetings at my residence. I have documentation showing 17 instances over the past 2 months, all outside normal business hours, all involving my wife as the primary participant." "What kind of documentation?" I could feel Ayla's panic radiating across the room. She was making cutting motions across her throat, trying to get me to hang up. "Smart home access logs, calendar invites marked as business meetings, and text messages directing me to vacate my own residence to accommodate these sessions. The most recent message came 20 minutes ago, ordering me to sleep somewhere else tonight." "He ordered you to leave your own home?" Direct quote, "Coming by tonight, sleep somewhere else," followed by a request for privacy for what he called sensitive discussions. Seren's silence stretched longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had dropped to the temperature of liquid nitrogen. "Pierce, I need you to forward me everything you just described. Every log, every message, every piece of documentation. Can you do that right now?" "Already compiled. I can send it immediately." "Do it." I pulled up my secure folder and began attaching files to an email. Ayla had moved closer, trying to read over my shoulder, but I angled the screen away from her. "This is insane," she hissed. "You're going to ruin everything over nothing." "Ms. Drevin," I said into the phone, "I'm sending the files now. I should mention that my wife described these meetings as part of something called leadership culture and strategic partnership development." "I see." Seren's tone could have frozen helium. "And Mr. Vossin is scheduled to arrive tonight?" 9:30, according to his message. "He won't be." The line went quiet, except for the sound of Seren typing rapidly on her keyboard. "Pierce, I want you to understand something. What you've described isn't leadership culture. It's not strategic partnership development. It's a violation of about 15 different company policies, not to mention basic human decency." Ayla grabbed for my phone, but I stepped back. "I'm revoking Mr. Vossin's access to your residence immediately," Seren continued. "I'm also suspending his authority to conduct any off-site meetings pending a full review. This review begins tonight." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means your wife's boss just lost the keys to your house and possibly his job. It also means you might want to consult a divorce attorney." Ayla's face had gone from pale to gray. She was finally understanding that her carefully managed situation had just exploded in spectacular fashion. "Thank you, Ms. Drevin. I appreciate your time. Pierce, one more thing. Document everything that happens next, everything, and if Mr. Vossin shows up anyway, call the police. What he's been doing isn't just unethical, it's criminal harassment." The call ended. I set my phone on the desk and looked at my wife. "You just destroyed my career," she said quietly. "No, Ayla, You did that yourself. I just made some phone calls. Her composure finally shattered. Do you have any idea what you've done? Rhett was going to promote me to senior vice president. I was going to make partner track. We were going to have everything we ever wanted. We? Yes, we. This was for us, Pierce. For our future. Our future involved you meeting with your boss twice a week while I played the oblivious spouse? It wasn't about intimacy, she said. It was about positioning, about building the right connections to advance my career. I stared at her, genuinely amazed. Do you actually believe that? It's how the world works, how business works. Men like Rhett don't promote women based on merit alone. You have to be strategic. Strategic, I repeated her favorite word. Is that what we're calling adultery now? It wasn't adultery, it was networking. My phone buzzed, a text from Rhett. Change of plans, rain check on tonight. We'll discuss rescheduling tomorrow. I showed Ayla the message. Looks like your networking opportunity just got canceled. She read the text, and I watched the reality hit her like a freight train. Rhett wasn't coming. The promotion wasn't happening. Her carefully constructed house of cards was collapsing in real time. You don't understand, she said, desperation creeping into her voice. Rhett has influence. He can make or break careers in this industry. If you've made him angry, then he'll have to get in line behind me. My phone rang. Seren again. Pierce, I've spoken with Mr. Vossin. He's been relieved of his duties pending investigation. Security is collecting his access cards and company devices as we speak. That was fast. When someone hands me documented evidence of executive misconduct, I don't waste time. I also wanted to let you know that your wife's employment status is under review as well. I looked at Ayla, who was staring at me with something approaching horror. What does that mean for her? It means she should probably update her resume. And Pierce? You might want to change your locks, all of them. After Seren hung up, the house felt different, quieter. The smart home system hummed around us, but the sounds seemed muted, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Ayla sat down heavily in the kitchen chair. 20 years, she said. 20 years of marriage, and you just threw it all away over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I was trying to build something for us, a better life, financial security. By lying to me, by scheduling affairs like business meetings, by letting your boss order me around in my own home. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What was it supposed to be like, Ayla? I was supposed to get the promotion first. Then I was going to end things with Rhett. Clean break. We would have had everything we wanted, and you never would have had to know about the details. The details? The sacrifices I made, the compromises. I pulled out my phone and opened the divorce attorney bookmark I'd saved 3 weeks ago, when I'd first started suspecting something was wrong. Pierce, what are you doing? Making an appointment. Turns out I don't want everything we wanted after all. You can't be serious. Serious. I'm done being managed, Ayla. Done being scheduled around like an inconvenience. Done pretending that what you did was somehow for my benefit. She stood up, smoothing her skirt, trying to regain some dignity. Fine. If that's how you want to play this, we'll play it your way. But you should know that I'm not going down alone. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know things about you too, Pierce. About your clients. About the corners you cut to get information for your investigations. I looked at her calmly. Such as? Such as the Henderson case. You hacked into their neighbor's Wi-Fi to prove the affair. That's illegal. I used publicly available network information to document suspicious activity. Everything I did was within legal parameters. What about the Morrison divorce? You planted recording devices in their house. I installed security equipment at the client's request in her own residence. All perfectly legal. Ayla's confidence wavered. She was grasping for leverage and finding nothing solid to grab. There has to be something, she said. Nobody's that clean. You're right. Nobody is. But the difference between us, Ayla, is that I know where the lines are, and I know how to walk right up to them without crossing over. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. We need to talk. R. I showed it to Ayla. Looks like your former boss wants to have a conversation. Rhett's not stupid. He won't do anything rash. No? He just lost his job because he couldn't keep his hands off his employee and his ego in check. That doesn't sound particularly smart to me. He's angry. Men like Rhett don't handle humiliation well. Then he should have thought about that before he started treating other people's lives like his personal playground. I forwarded Rhett's message to Seren and to the local police non-emergency line. along with a brief explanation of the situation. Documentation. Always document everything. What happens now? Ayla asked. Now you pack a bag and find somewhere else to stay while we sort this out legally. This is my house, too. Actually, it's not. It's in my name. Has been since we bought it. You insisted on keeping your maiden name and your financial independence, remember? Turns out that cuts both ways. The look she gave me was pure venom. You planned this. No, Ayla. I just paid attention. Something you might want to try sometime. She stormed upstairs to pack, her heels clicking angrily against the hardwood. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to drawers slamming and closet doors banging. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Pierce Eldrow. Speaking. This is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Department. We received your report about harassment. Can you walk me through what's been happening? I spent the next 20 minutes explaining the situation to Detective Martinez, forwarding him copies of all the documentation I'd sent to Seren. He was thorough, professional, and reassuringly unimpressed by Rhett's corporate title. Mr. Eldrow, what Mr. Vossin has been doing could constitute several different crimes, depending on how far he's willing to take it. Harassment, intimidation, possibly stalking. We're going to have a conversation with him tonight. What should I do if he shows up here? Call 911 immediately. Don't engage with him. Don't let him in. Don't try to handle it yourself. We'll have a patrol car swing by your neighborhood a few times tonight, just to be visible. Thank you, Detective. One more thing, Mr. Eldrow. You did the right thing calling this in when you did. A lot of people wait until the situation escalates. You probably prevented something much worse from happening. After he hung up, I sat in my kitchen and looked around at the life Ayla and I had built together. The granite counters she'd wanted, the stainless steel appliances we'd picked out together, the family photos on the refrigerator from back when we'd actually been a family. It was all going to change now. The house would feel different, sound different. But for the first time in months, it would be mine again. Ayla came downstairs with 2 suitcases and her laptop bag. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, trading her executive armor for something more practical. I'm staying at Jennifer's, she said. Good choice. This isn't over, Pierce. Yes, it is. You think you've won something here, but you haven't. You've just made everything more complicated for both of us. I looked at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete clarity. Ayla, for the first time since this whole mess started, everything feels perfectly simple. She left without another word, and I changed all the locks. The next morning brought 3 things. Coffee that actually tasted good for the first time in months, a stack of legal documents from the divorce attorney, and a very angry phone call from Rhett Vossin. I let it go to voicemail. Pierce, you pathetic little worm. You think you're clever, running to Mommy Drevin like a tattletale? You have no idea what you've started. I built my career on crushing insects like you. This isn't over. I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Detective Martinez. Then I made myself breakfast. Actual breakfast, not the protein bar and coffee I'd been surviving on while trying to avoid awkward kitchen conversations with Ayla. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized, my gym buddy Sage. Heard through the grapevine that you're suddenly single, he said without preamble. Want to talk about it over some therapeutic violence? Sage Hendricks was ex-police, ex-military, and current owner of the most no-nonsense boxing gym in the county. He was also one of the few people who'd never bought into Ayla's charm offensive. How did you hear about it already? Small town, big mouths. Plus, your wife's boss made some calls last night trying to find out who you knew and what kind of dirt you might have on him. Word gets around. He's been busy. Yeah, well, so have other people. You free this morning? I looked around my empty house. I'll be there in 30 minutes. The gym was exactly what I needed. Loud, sweaty, and completely free of corporate politics. Sage handed me some gloves and pointed me toward the heavy bag. So, he said, after I'd spent 10 minutes working out my frustrations on the leather, want to tell me what really happened? I gave him the abbreviated version while we worked through combinations. Sage listened without comment until I got to the part about Rhett's text message. He ordered you out of your own house. Direct quote. And your wife went along with it? She called it leadership culture. Sage stopped holding the bag and stared at me. Leadership culture? Her exact words. Pierce, I've seen a lot of messed up situations in my time, but that might be the most insulting thing I've ever heard. Leadership culture? Jesus. It gets better. She tried to convince me it was all for our benefit. Strategic career advancement. Strategic adultery. That's a new one. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I made the point with sharp emphasis. The worst part is that she actually seemed to believe it, like she'd convinced herself that deceiving me and arranging those secret meetings with her boss was some kind of sacrifice for our future. People tell themselves all kinds of stories to justify what they want to do anyway, Sage said. But ordering you out of your own house? That's not strategy. That's just cruelty. Yeah, well, it backfired spectacularly. How so? I told him about the call to Seren Drevin and the immediate consequences. Sage grinned. You went straight to the top. I like it. None of this confronting the cheaters directly nonsense. You hit them where it actually hurts. Seemed like the logical approach. Most people aren't logical when they're angry. They want the dramatic confrontation, the big emotional scene. You treated it like a business problem and solved it like a professional. 25 years in IT. Everything's a system problem if you look at it right. So what's next? Divorce proceedings, changing the locks, figuring out what my life looks like without a wife who thinks I'm an inconvenience to be managed. Sage nodded approvingly. Sounds like a plan. What about the boss? Rhett, was it? What about him? He's not going to just disappear quietly. Men like that don't handle humiliation well. They tend to escalate. The police are aware of the situation. Good, but you should be prepared for him to get creative. Guys who are used to getting their way don't give up easy. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Parking lot. Now. We finish this like men. I showed it to Sage. He read it and shook his head. See? Creative. He's trying to bait you into a confrontation where he can play the victim. What should I do? Nothing. Don't respond, don't engage, don't give him what he wants. Forward it to the cops and let them handle it. I sent the message to Detective Martinez and got a response within 5 minutes. Stay where you are. We're handling this. 20 minutes later, Martinez called. Mr. Eldrow, we had a conversation with Mr. Vossin in your gym's parking lot. He was quite insistent that you'd agreed to meet him there. I never responded to his message. That's what we figured. We've advised him that any further contact with you constitutes harassment and will result in his arrest. He didn't take it well. What does that mean? It means he's angry, embarrassed, and looking for someone to blame. Be careful. Stick to public places, keep documenting everything, and call us if he tries to contact you again. Sage had been listening to my half of the conversation. When I hung up, he nodded toward the gym's back office. Come on, I want to show you something. The office was small and cluttered, dominated by an old metal desk and a wall of security monitors showing different angles of the gym. Sage pulled up a chair and gestured for me to sit. See that monitor there? The one showing the parking lot? I looked at the screen. There was a silver BMW parked across the street, engine running. That's been there for about 10 minutes. Want to bet on who's driving? I squinted at the screen. The angle wasn't great, but I could make out a figure in the driver's seat. Male, dark hair, expensive suit even at 10 in the morning. Rhett? That'd be my guess. He's probably waiting to see if you'll come out, maybe follow you home. Should I call the police again? Already did. They're sending a patrol car. But Pierce, this is exactly what I was talking about. This guy isn't going to let it go. He's escalating. As we watched, a police cruiser pulled into the parking lot. The BMW immediately drove away, but not before the officer got a good look at the license plate. My phone rang, Detective Martinez again. Mr. Eldrow, we just had another encounter with Mr. Vossin. He was conducting what he called surveillance of your location. We've informed him that this constitutes stalking and that he needs to stay at least 500 feet away from you at all times. What happens if he doesn't? Then he gets arrested. But I have to ask, do you have somewhere else you can stay for a few days, just until this cools down? I looked around Sage's office, then at Sage himself. Actually, I might. After Martinez hung up, Sage leaned back in his chair. You're welcome to crash here for a few days. I've got a small apartment upstairs, and the gym's got better security than most banks. I appreciate the offer, but I'm not running from this guy. It's not running, it's being smart. Give the legal system time to work, let the police do their job. Don't give him any opportunities to corner you somewhere isolated. What about my house? What about it? You've got smart home security, cameras, automatic locks. It's probably safer than most places. But you don't have to be there 24/7 to keep an eye on it. I thought about it. The house did have excellent security. I'd installed most of it myself. And staying at the gym would give me access to Sage's experience and the kind of physical training that might come in handy if Rhett decided to get more aggressive. All right, but just for a few days. Good choice. Now let's talk about what you're really dealing with here. What do you mean? I mean, Rhett Vossin isn't just some angry executive. I made some calls after you left yesterday. This guy has a pattern. Sage pulled out a notebook and flipped through several pages. 3 other companies in the past 5 years. Always the same story: inappropriate relationships with female employees, abuse of power, harassment of anyone who got in his way. He's good at covering his tracks, good at making problems disappear. How? Money, mostly. Settlements, non-disclosure agreements, strategic job offers to keep people quiet, but also intimidation. There's at least 2 cases where people who opposed him had their careers destroyed through what looked like coincidence, but probably wasn't. And he got away with it? Every time, until now. See, you did something different, Pierce. You didn't try to negotiate with him or confront him directly. You went straight to someone with more power than he has, and you gave them everything they needed to take him down immediately. Seren Drevin. Exactly. She's old-school corporate royalty. The kind of person who takes fiduciary duty seriously and doesn't tolerate executives who make the company vulnerable to lawsuits. So Rhett's really finished? At that company, absolutely. But guys like him don't just disappear. They reinvent themselves, move to new markets, find new victims. The question is whether he'll try to settle the score with you first. My phone buzzed with another text. This time it was from Ayla. We need to talk. Jennifer's house, 7 p.m. Come alone. I showed it to Sage. He frowned. That feels like a setup. You think Ayla's working with Rhett? I think your wife just lost her job and her boyfriend in the same day. People do desperate things when they're desperate. And come alone is never a good sign. So I don't go? Oh, you go. But not alone and not at 7 p.m. You go when you want to go, with backup, and you control the conversation. What kind of backup? Sage grinned. The kind that used to carry a badge and still knows how to use handcuffs. I called Ayla back at 3 in the afternoon, deliberately ignoring her request for a 7 p.m. meeting. Pierce? Thank God. I was afraid you wouldn't call. What do you want, Ayla? I want to fix this, all of it. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. We can get past it. There's nothing to work through. I'm filing for divorce. Don't say that, please. Just come over and let me explain everything. Let me show you that this doesn't have to end our marriage. Your affair already ended our marriage. Your boss ordering me out of my own house just made it official. It wasn't an affair, Pierce. It was complicated, but it wasn't what you think. I almost laughed. What do I think? You think I chose Rhett over you. You think I betrayed our marriage for some cheap fling with my boss. Didn't you? No. I chose our future over our present. I made a sacrifice to give us the life we always wanted. By being involved with another man twice a week for 2 months. The pause stretched so long, I wondered if she'd ended the call. It wasn't about intimacy, she said at last. It was about positioning, about building the connections I needed to move my career forward. Ayla, do you actually hear yourself right now? I hear someone who did what she had to do to succeed in a male-dominated industry. I hear someone who was willing to make hard choices for the benefit of her family. You hear someone who's lying to herself. I hear someone whose husband destroyed her career out of jealousy and spite. And there it was. The real Ayla, the one who'd been hiding behind corporate speak and strategic justifications. She wasn't sorry, she wasn't ashamed, she was angry that I'd interfered with her plan. Where's Rhett now? I asked. What do you mean? I mean your strategic partner, your career advancement opportunity. Where is he while you're trying to salvage your marriage? He's dealing with the fallout from your sabotage. My sabotage? You went behind our backs to Seren Drevin. You blindsided us with information taken out of context. You made it look like something it wasn't. What was it, Ayla? It was business. Business that required you to lie to me for 2 months? It required discretion. There's a difference. I looked around Sage's office where I was having this conversation. Through the window, I could see him working with a client on the heavy bag. Normal people doing normal things, not trying to justify adultery as strategic networking. Ayla, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. Okay. Are you still in contact with Rhett? The pause was answer enough. He's been through a lot because of what you did, she said carefully. He lost his job, his reputation. He's facing a board investigation. That's not what I asked. Yes, I'm still in contact with him. Someone has to be. He's alone in this. He's alone because he chose to abuse his power and harass people. That's not my fault. He's alone because you destroyed him out of petty jealousy. I documented his behavior and reported it to the appropriate authorities. If that destroyed him, it's because his behavior was destructive. You don't understand how these things work, Pierce. In the corporate world, relationships matter. Networks matter. You can't just follow rules and expect to succeed. And you can't just ignore rules and expect there to be no consequences. There wouldn't have been consequences if you'd minded your own business. It became my business when he started ordering me around in my own house. One text message, one request for privacy so we could work without interruption. 17 meetings, Ayla, 2 months of scheduled affairs. Smart home logs showing exactly when and how long he was in our bedroom. You were spying on me. I was maintaining our security system. There's a difference. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Less defensive, more calculating. Pierce, what would it take? What would what take? To make this go away, to undo what you've done. What would you need from me to call Seren Drevin and tell her you made a mistake? I stared at the phone. You want me to lie to cover for you and Rhett? I want you to fix what you broke. I didn't break anything, Ayla. I exposed something that was already broken. You destroyed 2 careers over a misunderstanding. I documented criminal harassment and corporate misconduct. There's a difference. So that's it? You won't even consider trying to fix this? There's nothing to fix. Rhett made his choices, you made yours, and now you're both dealing with the consequences. Fine. Her voice went cold. Then we do this the hard way. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're not the only one with documentation, Pierce. It means I know things about your business practices that might interest the state licensing board. Such as the corners you cut to get information for your clients, the privacy laws you've bent, the ethical boundaries you've crossed. I felt a familiar calm settle over me. This was Ayla's last card, and it was a bluff. Ayla, I've been in this business for 25 years. Everything I do is documented, legal, and ethical. If you think you can intimidate me with vague threats about licensing violations, you're going to be disappointed. We'll see. Yes, we will. And Ayla, this conversation is being recorded. Threatening to file false complaints against someone's professional license is itself a crime. The silence on the other end stretched long enough that I thought she might have hung up. You're recording me? I'm documenting everything, just like I told you I would. Just like I've been doing since this whole mess started. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. This is a one-party consent state, and you're threatening to destroy my livelihood with false accusations. Recording this conversation is not only legal, it's evidence. You son of a... The line went quiet. She'd hung up. I saved the recording and forwarded it to my attorney, along with a summary of the conversation. Then I called Detective Martinez. Mr. Eldrow, what can I do for you? I just had a conversation with my wife where she threatened to file false complaints against my professional license if I don't recant my statement about Rhett Vossin. Did you record it? Yes. Good. Forward me a copy. That's witness intimidation, and it suggests coordination between your wife and Mr. Vossin. What does that mean? It means they're working together to try to pressure you into changing your story. It also means we need to have another conversation with both of them. After I hung up, Sage appeared in the office doorway. Sounded like that went well. She wanted me to call Seren Drevin and tell her I made everything up. And when you said no? She threatened to destroy my business with false licensing complaints. Sage nodded grimly. Escalation, just like I predicted. What's your next move? I don't have a next move. I'm going to let the legal system work and stay out of their way. That's probably smart. But Pierce, you should know that while you were on the phone, I had a visitor. What kind of visitor? The kind who was asking questions about your schedule, your habits, where you've been staying. I felt my stomach tighten. Rhett? No, but someone working for him. Private investigator type. Very polite, very professional, very interested in your daily routine. What did you tell him? I told him to get lost. But the fact that he was here means they're planning something. People don't hire investigators unless they're looking for leverage or opportunity. What kind of opportunity? The kind where they arrange to be somewhere you're going to be, with witnesses and cameras, so they can provoke you into doing something stupid that makes you look like the aggressor. A setup. Exactly. Which is why you're not going to Jennifer's house at 7 p.m. tonight, and why we're going to be very careful about where you go and when you go there for the next few days. My phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. Your wife wants to work this out. Don't make it harder than it has to be. I showed it to Sage. He read it and shook his head. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. Forward that to the detective. I did, and got an immediate response. We're issuing a warrant for Mr. Vossin's arrest. Stay where you are until we have him in custody. Looks like this is about to get resolved, I told Sage. Maybe. But guys like Rhett usually have lawyers who can get them out on bail pretty quickly. This might just be the beginning. He was right. 2 hours later, Detective Martinez called to let me know that Rhett had been arrested, charged with harassment and witness intimidation, and released on his own recognizance pending trial. What does that mean for me? I asked. It means he's been ordered to have no contact with you or your wife, and to stay at least 1,000 feet away from your residence, workplace, and known associates. If he violates that order, he goes back to jail immediately. And if he doesn't violate it, then you go back to your normal life and let the courts handle the rest. Normal life. I wasn't even sure what that meant anymore. For 2 months, my normal life had been built around a lie. My wife had been scheduling affairs while I traveled for work. My house had been turned into a part-time hotel for corporate executives, and I'd been treated like an inconvenience to be managed rather than a husband to be respected. Now my wife was gone, her boss was facing criminal charges, and I was sleeping in a gym office while trying to figure out what came next. But for the first time in months, the future felt like it belonged to me again. "Sage," I said after hanging up with Martinez, "I think I'm ready to go home." "You sure? The restraining order is just paper. It only works if Rhett decides to follow it." "I'm sure. My house has better security than most government buildings. And I'm tired of letting other people's bad decisions control my life." "All right, but you're keeping the panic button app I installed on your phone, and you're checking in with me twice a day. Deal." I packed my few belongings and drove home through the evening traffic. The house looked exactly the same as when I'd left it, but it felt different. Lighter, somehow. Like a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying had been lifted. I changed the security codes, updated the access logs, and made myself dinner in a kitchen that was finally completely mine again. My phone rang just as I was finishing the dishes. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. "Pierce, this is Rhett. I know you think you've won something here, but this isn't over. Not by a long shot. You cost me my job, my reputation, my future. I'm going to make sure you understand what that feels like." I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Detective Martinez. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my back porch, looking out at the yard Ayla and I had planned together back when we'd actually been planning things together. Tomorrow I would start the process of building a new life. Tonight, I was going to enjoy the quiet. The wine was excellent, the evening was peaceful, and for the first time in months, I was exactly where I belonged. 3 days later, I woke up to the sound of my security system chiming. Someone was at the front door at 6:47 a.m. I checked the camera feed from my phone. Ayla stood on the porch, looking haggard and desperate. She'd lost weight, and her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Behind her, parked at the curb, was a familiar silver BMW. I called Detective Martinez while getting dressed. "Mr. Eldrow, what's the situation?" "My wife is at my front door, and Rhett Vossin is parked outside my house. This violates the restraining order." "We're on our way. Don't open the door, don't engage with them, and keep recording everything." I activated the external security cameras and started a continuous recording. Through the intercom, I could hear Ayla talking to someone, presumably Rhett, though I couldn't make out the words. She pressed the doorbell again, then knocked. "Pierce, I know you're in there. We need to talk. This has gone too far." I didn't respond. "Pierce, please. I'm trying to fix this before it gets worse. For both of us." Still nothing from me. "Fine." Her voice changed, became harder. "Have it your way." She walked back toward the street, but instead of getting in the BMW, she went to the neighbor's house and rang their doorbell. Mrs. Chen answered, and I watched through the camera as Ayla began what looked like an animated conversation. My phone rang. "Mrs. Chen." "Pierce, your wife is here. She says there's been a terrible misunderstanding and that you've been threatening her. She wants me to call the police." "Mrs. Chen, there's already a restraining order in place. Ayla isn't supposed to be here, and the police are on their way. Don't let her in your house." Oh my, she seemed so upset. "She's trying to manipulate you. Please just go inside and lock your door." Through the camera, I watched Mrs. Chen close her door. Ayla stood on the porch for a moment, then walked back toward the street. But instead of leaving, she began walking around the perimeter of my property, testing gates and looking for other ways in. The BMW's engine was still running. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Last chance to do this the easy way. I forwarded it to Martinez and kept recording. Ayla had made it to my backyard and was trying the gate that led to the patio. It was locked, but she had the code, or at least she had the old code. I'd changed it along with everything else. She tried several combinations, then pulled out her phone and made a call. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could see her gesturing angrily. The call ended, and she tried the gate code again. Different numbers this time. Still locked. That's when she picked up one of the decorative stones from the garden border and threw it at my kitchen window. The window didn't break. It was reinforced glass, but the impact triggered another security alert. Every camera in the system was now recording, and the automatic backup was uploading everything to cloud storage in real time. Ayla tried another stone, larger this time. It bounced off the window and landed in the herb garden she'd planted 2 springs ago, back when we'd still been pretending our marriage was worth saving. I heard sirens in the distance. Ayla heard them too. She dropped the stone she'd been holding and ran toward the front of the house. Through the street-facing camera, I watched her get into the BMW, which immediately drove away. 2 police cruisers arrived 30 seconds later. Detective Martinez was in the second car. I met him at the front door with my phone, tablet, and a USB drive containing all the security footage from the past hour. "Mr. Eldrow, are you hurt?" "No, but they violated the restraining order, attempted to break into my house, and tried to manipulate my neighbor into calling in a false police report. We saw the BMW leaving as we arrived. Did you get the license plate?" "I've got it on camera, along with everything else." I handed him the USB drive. Complete security footage from 6 angles, plus the text message Rhett sent while they were here. Martinez plugged the drive into his laptop and scrolled through the footage. His expression got grimmer with each clip. "Mr. Eldrow, this is evidence of multiple felonies: breaking and entering, destruction of property, violation of a restraining order, conspiracy to commit harassment. What happens now? Now we arrest both of them, and this time there won't be any bail." He made several calls while I gave my statement to the other officers. Within an hour, I learned that Ayla and Rhett had been taken into custody at Jennifer's house, where they'd apparently been staying together since Ayla moved out. "Together?" I asked Martinez. "Apparently so. According to the neighbor who called it in, they've been there for 3 days, acting like a couple." I almost laughed. After everything Ayla had said about strategic partnerships and career advancement, after all her justifications about sacrificing for our future, she'd ended up exactly where I'd suspected she was heading all along. "Detective, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "In your experience, how often do situations like this end with the cheating spouse and the boss actually staying together?" Martinez smiled grimly. "In my experience, Mr. Eldrow, people who'll betray their spouses and abuse their power don't make particularly loyal partners to each other. Give it 6 months." 6 months? That's usually how long it takes for them to realize that someone who'll lie and cheat with you will also lie and cheat to you, but that's their problem now, not yours. He was right. Whatever happened between Ayla and Rhett from this point forward was their business. My business was figuring out what my life looked like without them in it. The answer, it turned out, was pretty good. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into work with an energy I hadn't felt in years. Without the constant stress of managing around Ayla's schedule and moods, I was more focused, more creative, more productive. My client base expanded rapidly as word spread about my discretion and effectiveness. Sage and I started training together regularly, and I discovered that I actually enjoyed the physical challenge of boxing. It was direct, honest, and completely unlike the corporate games Ayla had been so fond of. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly straightforward. Ayla's criminal charges made it difficult for her to argue for spousal support, and her attorney seemed more interested in keeping her out of prison than fighting over assets. Rhett, meanwhile, had hired an expensive legal team that was working overtime to minimize his exposure. But the evidence was overwhelming, and the charges were serious. His lawyers were talking about plea bargains rather than trials. 3 months after that morning, when everything changed, I was sitting in my kitchen, reading the newspaper and drinking coffee that tasted exactly the way I liked it, when my phone rang. It was Seren Drevin. "Pierce, I hope you don't mind me calling." "Not at all, Ms. Drevin. What can I do for you?" "Actually, I was calling to see what I could do for you. I understand you're a cybersecurity consultant." "That's right. We're looking for someone to overhaul our entire corporate security infrastructure. Someone with demonstrated integrity and attention to detail. Someone who understands the importance of documentation and proper procedures." I smiled. "I might know someone who fits that description." "Excellent. When can you start?" The contract Seren offered was more than I'd made in the previous 2 years combined. The work was challenging, high profile, and came with the kind of corporate connections that could set me up for life. 6 months later, I was running the cybersecurity division for one of the largest consulting firms in the state. I had a corner office, a staff of 12, and more work than I could handle. I also had something I hadn't realized I'd been missing: respect. My colleagues valued my opinions, my clients trusted my judgment, and my staff looked to me for leadership. Real leadership, not the manipulative power games that Ayla had called corporate culture. The house felt like home again. I'd redecorated, removing the traces of Ayla's presence and replacing them with things I actually liked. The smart home system hummed along efficiently, protecting what was mine without being used against me. I heard through Sage that Ayla and Rhett had indeed broken up, just as Detective Martinez had predicted. Ayla was working as a temp at a small firm across town, and Rhett had left the state entirely after pleading guilty to reduced charges. I felt nothing when I heard the news. Not satisfaction, not vindication, not even relief. Just the quiet contentment of someone whose life was finally moving forward instead of being held back by other people's poor choices. On a Friday evening in late spring, I was working late in my home office when the security system chimed. Someone at the front door. I checked the camera feed, expecting a delivery driver or neighbor. It was Ayla. She looked older, tired. She was wearing a simple dress and carrying a small purse. No BMW this time. She'd apparently walked or taken a bus. I didn't open the door, but I did activate the intercom. "What do you want, Ayla?" "I want to apologize. Really apologize, not the fake corporate apology I tried before. I want to tell you that you were right about everything." "Okay. You've told me. Now please leave." "Pierce, please. 5 minutes. I know I don't deserve it, but I need you to understand that I know how wrong I was." I looked at my ex-wife through the security camera. She looked genuinely remorseful, genuinely broken. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Ayla, I appreciate the apology, but I don't need your understanding or your regret. I needed your honesty and your loyalty, and you chose to give those to someone else. We're done." "I know we're done. I'm not asking to get back together. I'm asking for forgiveness." "You have it. Now please leave my property." "That's it?" "That's it." She stood there for another minute, looking up at the camera. Then she nodded once and walked away. I watched her disappear down the street, then returned to my work. There was a new client presentation to finish, a security audit to complete, and a staff meeting to prepare for Monday. My life was full of things that mattered, people who respected me, and work that challenged me. I had everything I needed and nothing I didn't want. For the first time in years, I was exactly where I belonged. The coffee was excellent, the evening was quiet, and tomorrow would bring new opportunities to build something better than what I'd lost. I raised my mug in a silent toast to the man I'd become and got back to work.